Everybody lives for something. Could be your career, your family, maybe just getting the approval of people around you. We all have something that gets us out of bed in the morning. But what if we're chasing all these things and missing the one single thing we were actually made for?
This is the question, isn't it? It cuts right through all the noise of our day-to-day lives. Beyond the job, the bills, the to-do lists, what is the whole point? People have been wrestling with this one forever, but an answer from way back in the 17th century has stuck around for a reason. It's just so simple, and yet so incredibly deep.
Now, at first glance, that might sound like two different jobs, right? You glorify God from 9 to 5, and then you enjoy Him on the weekend. But that's not it at all. The real genius here is that it's one single thing. The idea is that the way we glorify God is by enjoying Him. And the more we enjoy Him, the more glory He gets. They're totally connected, two sides of the very same coin.
Okay, so if our main purpose is to glorify God, we have to start with a pretty basic question. What exactly is God's glory? We throw that term around a lot, but what does it really mean? Well, it turns out there's a really important distinction we need to get straight in our heads.
So on the one hand, you've got God's intrinsic glory. This is just who He is. It's the sheer weight and brightness of His perfection. It's infinite, it's unchangeable, and there's absolutely nothing we can do to add to it or take away from it. But then there's ascribed glory, and this is where we come in. This is the glory we give to God. Think of it like a telescope. A telescope doesn't make a star any bigger, right? It just helps us see how big it already is. That's what we're called to do, to live in a way that magnifies God so other people can see His greatness. And why do we owe Him this? Well, the reasons are about as basic as it gets. For starters, He's the reason we exist. Every breath you take is a gift. Every good thing, every small comfort in your life comes from Him. And this is huge. He made everything, the whole universe, for this very purpose. The stars are shouting His glory, the angels are singing it, and we get invited to join in that massive cosmic chorus.
But that all still sounds a little abstract, doesn't it? How do we make this practical? I mean, what does a life that glorifies God actually look like on a Monday morning when you're late for work? Well, our source material breaks it down brilliantly into 4 key characteristics.
So first, there's appreciation. This is all about your mind, where you consciously put God first in your thoughts and admire Him more than anything else. Second is adoration. This is our worship, and the key is it has to be on His terms, based on what He's revealed, not just on what we feel like doing. Third, we've got affection. This is all about the heart. Do we love God Himself, or do we just love the gifts He gives us? And finally, there's subjection. This is about your will. It's dedicating your life to serving Him, ready to go where He says to go.
All right, now let's see how these 4 ideas actually cash out in our daily lives. Because knowing the what is great, but it's the how that really makes a difference. Let's look at some ways to translate this high and holy calling into everyday actions.
And man, this touches absolutely everything. It means aiming for God's glory even when it's the harder choice, even when it costs you something. It means being honest when you mess up because that shows He's holy and you're not. It means actually believing what He says, showing the world He's trustworthy. It's about feeling a real sense of sadness when His name gets dragged through the mud. And it's about making sure your life produces real fruit, not just talking a good game.
Let's just pause on one of the most powerful and maybe surprising ways to glorify God, being content. Just think about this for a second. When someone who is going through a really hard time can say this and mean it, it sends an unbelievably powerful message. It shouts to the world, my circumstances might be terrible, but my God is enough for me.
And the list keeps going. Things like walking cheerfully, even when life is tough. That shows that serving God is a joy, not a drag. Standing up for His truth when it's not popular. Praising Him, living a life that's consistent and holy. And yes, this is a hard one, but even being willing to suffer for Him, if that's what you're called to do, shines a spotlight on His worth like almost nothing else can.
So, what if we don't? What happens if we just ignore all this and live for ourselves? What are the consequences? Well, the stakes for how we answer that question, both now and for eternity, are just incredibly high.
You probably know the story Jesus told about the talents. And here's the really shocking part. The servant who got thrown out wasn't condemned for being some terrible, wicked person. He was condemned for being useless. He was given something, and he did nothing with it. The question God is going to ask us isn't just, did you avoid doing bad things? It's going to be, what did you do with the life I gave you for my glory?
But listen, That heavy warning is not the last word here, not even close. Because for everyone who does choose to live for God's glory, there is an incredible promise, a promise of a joy that is directly tied to that very purpose.
This brings us right back to the second half of our purpose, to enjoy Him forever. And we're not talking about a temporary feeling of happiness. This is a good that is totally pure, with no downside, no bitterness. It's a good that completely satisfies the deepest parts of your soul, and you never get tired of it. It's a delight that is way beyond anything we can even imagine on earth. And maybe best of all, it's eternal. It never ever runs out.
This is it. This is what you are made for. Not for the temporary things we spend so much time and energy chasing, but for something of infinite value and eternal importance. So the question we started with comes right back around to you, right now. You were made for this. So, what will you live for?